Hey y'all, hope you're doing good today. So I have not had a lot of time to dive into my book. I've looked through it a little bit, the Dictionary of Clocks and Watches, but I know this seems like a really odd book to pick up, but that's what I like. I like one-of-a-kind, unique things, and the way I look at stuff like this, because it's just full, it's literally a dictionary, and it's kind of like, you never know what you're going to find, but the way I see books like this is that each one of these entries in this book is a starting point to then, focus on the things that catch your attention that really seem interesting, and then you can just go from that starting point and just focus on more research. So for example, there's all these different people listed that were inventors, and I'm going to share one of these with you. So there's one called, the entry is in the A's, and it's George Bedell Airy, and I have no idea who this man is. But as far as prior to reading this book, it says the astronomer royal from 1835 to 1881 discovered that if a pendulum or a balance in spring is impulsed briefly in the midpoint of its swing, this will have least effect on its timekeeping. If the impulse is given before dead center, the pendulum or balance will go faster. And if given after dead center, it will go slower. There is no need to impulse at every swing. He was inventor of the escapement of a sidereal clock by Dent, and it goes on to explain for Greenwich Observatory in 1872, and he also introduced the tape chronograph to Greenwich. And to me, that's just very interesting because you could investigate, what this means. And there's a Bible verse. I wish I could remember where it is, because I would share it with you. Maybe you can find it. And if you do, I'd love for you to drop it in the comments. But there's a Bible verse that I randomly found one day. And it basically, in my own words, says that if you can find or understand the truth or the workings of something, it was like, a flower or something very small in life, then you essentially understand everything. And if I'm not mistaken, there's other proverbs related to that from different either religions or philosophies or something, but that's how I view my journey in life of exploration and curiosity. I was just born this way. I love to explore. And when I find something that grabs my interest, I can really dial into that and focus intensely and just learn. And that's a wonderful hobby for me. And so, and I also vibe very much with other people who are that way, who love to research. It's like, when you meet people and like say you go to a new workplace or whatever, and you're getting to know your coworkers or whoever it is, and it's like, what are your hobbies? It's like, very rarely do you find people that say research, and I just love it. I love it. All different topics too, because that seems to be true. If you're willing to really commit and focus and dial into the truth, it's almost like a hidden truth within the mechanics or whatever it is of whatever you're focusing on. You can take that and expand it and apply it in so many other aspects of life, different things, and a lot of times it will literally illuminate a new understanding about something that otherwise you would have never seen. It's sort of like it's a tool, or a tactic rather, to expand your awareness. And it's fun. It's a lot of fun to me. So that's why I pick up books like this. But I was thinking about this, about the impulse, and I just looked up the word impulse. I'm familiar with it in terms of like instigating, or like if you feel impulsive, it's something that, is just sudden or whatever, an impulse. I'm thinking about like impulse buying or shopping, where they put all these little knickknacks up at the register, when you're ready to check out, and they want you to be impulsive and grab all this stuff, that you don't need, like candy or whatever. So anyway, but in looking up impulse, it can mean like to strike against, or to thrust, or push, apply pressure, all these other, physical, literal things. And so, yeah, in the workings of a pendulum, and it says, or balance and spring, if its impulse briefly in the midpoint of its swing, this will have the least effect on its timekeeping. But then it talks about, the point at which you actually apply the impulse. And it says, if it's given, the impulse, if it's given before dead center, the pendulum or balance will go faster. And just the other day, I was watching, it was just a suggested video. This guy was talking about a particular type of karate. I forget what type it was, but he was explaining that it doesn't really require a lot of strength of your own. You apply the speed and strength coming at you from the other person. You use that, that's what you utilize, is their own strength. And you see this a lot of times in cartoons, when there's like a tiny little character that defeats this giant or whatever it is, and they're coming at them with all this force and strength, and a lot of times that is used against them, and it's what defeats them. So that's really interesting to me, and you can think about this in so many different ways, but and I kind of would like to do that, but now's not the time. But anyway, so I will probably share just little bits and pieces from different books. I think I want to start looking for some old books and just kind of see what I can find, little treasures, little talking points and things like that. But yes, just I would encourage you, if you've got some free time, or if you're struggling with stress and there's all kind of stuff going on around you or whatever, you can certainly do this. You can just sort of get into a mode of exploration to kind of get your mind off things, and to spark interest and curiosity, and find something that you want to focus on, and just kind of invest in that and see where it goes, right? So I'll share something. I just was thinking about this. This is my little sketchbook, sort of, and it's just what I play in. And I love portraits, but I'm not very practiced in profile portraits, from the side. So I started just very lightly sketching some profile portraits after looking at some tips in this book that I have. And it was funny because the first two actually wound up looking like people that I've seen before. And I'm curious if you think the same thing. So the first one is this one. And I couldn't believe it. As soon as I drew her, it was not intentional. I even made a note. It reminded me of, there's an actress named Alicia Witt. And I think she's been in some Hallmark movies. And I was like, I didn't even mean to draw her, but how cool is that? And then this is the other one. And I thought of Claire Danes. I drew her and I was thinking, it just reminds me. There was a TV show she was in. It only had like one season or something. It didn't have a lot. She was in that show. Jared Leto was in that show. It was like a show about high schoolers and stuff, just the drama or whatever they go through. But yeah, it just reminded me of her. And then I think there was more. I thought there was more. I can't find them. I guess not. But I just had a lot of fun. I used to be independent ink, and so I just started, I need to work on the proportion with the noses and mouths and everything, but it's a lot of fun just to kind of play around and do line drawings. Line drawings are fun, and you can always shade with cross hatching and things like that. That was a lot of fun. And so I even had like, drew a little whimsical boat and things like that. You can add color, but I just love playing around and doing things like that. And if I want to spend more time with it, then I can get more detailed. This is one of my favorite new ones of a watercolor portrait I did. This was not looking at anybody in particular. This was literally just out of my imagination. That was a lot of fun. And I grabbed some tea bags, and I've seen that you can just use random things that you find to make imprints and to add color to your projects. And so I'm going to do something with this. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but this is coming up soon. So my art is always evolving, but yet it's never static. It's like I'm always interested in, it's like the evolution process itself is what is exciting to me. And I know a lot of artists, their goal is to find a style that they stick with, and it's like it represents them so that when people see their art, they can look at it and immediately know who did it. And that's cool, you know. And I was kind of looking for that for a long time in my life too, but I've decided that, you know, it's just not me. I don't want to box myself in. It's not how I think, and I'm always, because I have that spirit of seeking and learning and growing, essentially it means I'm evolving. You know, it's that that kid part of me, I guess, you know, childlike mindset. So not only do I do that with my research, I'm constantly wanting to learn more and expand my mind, but I do it with my art too, and that's fine. And I've just accepted that, you know. And so honestly, I admire people who can stick with one particular style, but as far as me, it bores me to death. You know, I have things I can commit to and stick with, and it's just what I want to do, like, you know, in a relationship. But as far as expressing myself and just learning in art, I'm always wanting to keep it moving, you know, and keep it interesting. So yes, I hope that you found value in this. I just wanted to touch base with you all. Things have been crazy with me lately. I've got somebody parked a couple spaces down. He's jamming out, eating some lunch, and that's cool. But yeah, I've had some challenges lately, and so I've been very busy, but I've missed being on here, and I just wanted to touch base and say hello and say I hope you're doing well, and I hope you enjoyed this check-in, and I'll be back soon, and I hope that you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you again very soon.